going off topic.
Off topic?
You really off topic right now. Yo, you way off topic? How is it that everybody's over here and you way over there off topic?
All right. All right, family. We are here with my big brother, Almighty. brother Obsidian, Philadelphia's very own, aka Mumia Obsidian Ali, one of the three co-founders of Manosphere 2.0. We have a great conversation lined up for you today. I'm just going to ask Brother Obsidian right off the bat if you can mute your mic when you're not speaking, just so that we don't get playback. And when people see this recording, it'll be perfect. But with that being said, my brother, I'm just going to start by asking you, how are you doing? And of course, I want to thank you for being here with us today and going off topic. So, my brother Obsidian, how are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. And how are you doing?
I can't complain. I was really looking forward to this interview. So I'm happy that I have you here today. So I can't complain as well.
Thank you.
So you want to get into this?
Yeah.
All right. So I was just telling you behind the scenes that, pretty much I spent a lot of time on Twitter. In fact, although I've had a YouTube page for about the past 4 years, I've really only been engaging and trying to build an audience and create content over here since the 30th of August. So, I'm still pretty much very early on in this space. However, on Twitter was the first time that I came across you before I even knew you. There was an infamous BMAT. That's a term developed on Twitter. And we use that to refer to a segment of women who use the term black men are trash. So there was an infamous and notorious BMAT on Twitter who had posted a whole stream about you or an entire thread by the name of Feminista Jones. Are you familiar with this?
Oh, really? When did this happen?
This was probably back in 2016 or 2017.
Oh man, that's old news. That's old.
Yeah, she posted an entire thread referring to you as a stalker, and you were enraged and a bunch of. So that was the first time I had ever heard of you. So you care to speak to that at all? Because she's not a fan of me as well. So I'll let you speak to that.
Hold on. She's not a fan of yours either.
Oh no. She is.
Definitely. I'm shocked. I tell you. I mean, what guy does she actually? Now she claims to be, bisexual, or at this point she might just be a flat out lesbian. And something tells me that quite a few black women know she's not a fan of them either. I mean, the bottom line is that Feminista Jones is pretty much a misanthrope, right? So this is somebody that just doesn't get along with people. Period.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to make it out like this is a gender thing. And when truth, it's really she's just a bitch.
How did you come in contact with? Because you're not on Twitter, so how did you even come?
Well, I actually am on Twitter at Obsidian Files, Files, all one word.
Okay.
So I actually am on Twitter, but that's not how I came into contact with her. So it all got started, and I'll email you all of my greatest hits of Feminista Jones. But how it all got started was, back in, I want to say 2014. I think.
So this is pre-Manosphere or pre-Manosphere 2.0.
Right.
Okay.
So what happened was I was operating an outfit called Just For Guys, right? And the whole point was I wanted to get an interview because at the time the whole street harassment thing was really ascendant.
Yeah.
So I wanted to interview the people who were making these arguments that, these women were being put upon and all the rest of it. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to interview Feminista Jones because she was one of the people who made the case that, and she made it a racial thing.
Yeah.
That, black men, it was particularly, street harassing black women and all the rest of it. I had, really positive interactions with white women on the matter. And she was the only one that was basically a bitch and, gave me a hard way to go about it. And so what she did was she took our email exchange and to call herself out at me and put it on the website. So what I did is I took the entire email exchange and outed her and put it on A Voice for Men. And that's how it all got started.
Got you. Okay. That makes sense. So you've been stirring the waters for some time now, Brother Obsidian.
Yeah, I try.
I can dig it. Okay, so let me the Book of Obsidian. You're now a best-selling author. You've gotten a massive cosign by one of the biggest content creators currently in the space. Your book is flying off the shelf. Tell me a bit about the Book of Obsidian. When did you release the book, and what made you want to take on that project?
Yeah, book came out early part of this year, late February, early March. Is when the Book of Obsidian finally dropped, and it was the result of a long time of me observing. And interesting enough, Jones plays a role in the book. She's mentioned in the book, and she's going to be mentioned several more times in the follow-up books in the trilogy. But it all got started. To tell you the truth, one major event did it. So in the spring of 2019. I attended a big event that headlined Derek Jackson, among others. And this here in Philly, it was part of a larger tour. And the place was packed, over 1,000 people, women, black women in attendance from all up and down points along the eastern seaboard, standing room only. And the whole spectacle was just such, yeah, you know what, man, this is insane. And a voice just went off in my head, like, you know what, Obsidian, you need to write a book, man. You need to write a book. Because I'm sitting there like, no disrespect to these guys, but I'm like, if these guys can write a book, I know I can write a book. So the voice in my head was like, well, why don't you? You need to write a book. And I decided to heed that little inner voice, and that's exactly what I did. So I left. That was May 4th, 2019. So I left that event that night, and a few days later, I contacted O'Shea Duke Jackson and asked him, did he have any room for a dating coaching column? And as it turned out, he did. And I started writing a dating coaching column, and all of those columns, and I wrote it, and I did it this way on purpose. All of those columns would be de facto chapters in the book that became the Book of Obsidian.
Okay.
And so I wrote it from summer of 2019 to early 2021, and then I compiled all together and became the Book of Obsidian.
Hold on one second. I have to commend you on that effort. As a writer myself, I started writing my first book in 2016. It's not done, but I recently compiled.
It must be one of those War and Peace magnum opuses.
It definitely is. My book is called Combat Ready Lifestyle. If you can see, like the entire theme of my life is just being war ready, and helping people to understand, the war that we are presently living through. Right. I was having a conversation with my wife recently, and I was telling her that there's pretty much 3 ways that you can build an audience. And you can either sell them on a devil, you can sell them on a dream, or you can awaken them to the nightmare. And for me, I'm the latter. But I find that the doom and gloom, a lot of people don't want to hear it. So, I'm trying to finesse the message a little bit just so that it's not so Alex Jones, you know what I mean? Like the babies are falling from the sky type of thing. But yeah. I do want us to be able to deal with our reality and look things in the face and just accept things for what they are. You know what I mean? Like I'm very big on, awakening people to the matrix that is around them. That's kind of like my whole thing. So speaking of the matrix, I think this is a good segue. Within the manosphere, there's a lot of talk about blue pill, purple pill, red pill, black pill. Are you a pill aficionado? And among the groupings of pills, which one have you consumed last?
I'll be considering myself a red pill, and but I don't make a big, production or I don't make a big deal out of it. But yeah, I would consider myself a red pill. And all red pill means to me is that you accept life on its own terms, and not, the contrivances of a polite society. So, for example, let's take one example. The idea, for example, that women are sugar and spice and everything nice. That's not true. They, have their, peccadillos and flaws and failings just the way men do. And I accept that. And I move forward. That's all it is.
Okay. So for the uninitiated, if you were to give a 30-second explanation of what blue pill and black pill is, would you have a definition for those as well?
Yeah. They hail from the film The Matrix, late 1990s. So the blue pill, as propounded in the film, are those who are kind of going through life in a something of a hypnotic, dream-induced state, where they pretty much believe everything that they're told by their betters. And the red pillars are those that seek the truth behind the veil and accept the truth behind the veil. Then you have what's known as purple pillars. These are people, guys, who kind of in a sort of purgatory between red pill and blue pill. And then there are what are known as black pills. These are guys who are pretty much nihilists.
Yeah.
And it's interesting enough, I've been thinking of doing something over on my own channel about black pillars, because I think that to be brutally frank, I think they're BSing. But that's another topic for another day. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole range of it. Like I said, I'm a red pillar. And the reason why isn't because I hate women or anything like that. It's just that I recognize that women are human beings with all the up and down sides that entails.
Okay, hold on one second. Give my brother Obsidian a round of applause, because we are on going off topic, but he had the discipline to stay on topic. So I want to give you doing that. But okay, so you've been in this space even before Black Manosphere 2.0, brother Obsidian. You've been writing and serving as an advocate for Black men and better outcomes for Black men for some time, right? So with the founding of Manosphere 2.0, I believe it was founded, I guess, around 2015, 2017, correct?
2015, summer of 2015, yeah.
Okay, so you yourself, Brother O'Shea, Brother Angry Man, are considered the founding trio of Manosphere 2.0. So would you mind just sharing a bit about the aims and objectives of the Black Manosphere 2.0?
Well, I mean, there was no like big meeting where we had a big plenary, breakout meeting, and be it resolved that we're forming the Black Manosphere. It didn't happen that way. What happened was I didn't know O'Shea and Angry Man at the time. They didn't know me, but we all independently kind of came from different points and wound up on YouTube talking very similar things, and we still do to a large extent today, which is giving Black men a voice to be heard in their own voice on matters that matter to them. And as it turned out, one of the biggest matters that matter to Black men are Black women and relationships. And I think rightly so, given the state of it in Black America right now. Black marriage rate is at its lowest point, not just for Black people, but for the country at large. We cohabit less than anyone else. We have a very high out of wedlock birth rate, very high adultery rate and infidelity rate, very high STD rate. That dovetails, or that spins out rather, into questions of generational wealth, questions of business, questions of legacies, and it goes out even further than that. It becomes a systemic, system-wide issue. And me and O'Shea and Angry Man discussed it early on, but that will become the Black Manosphere 2.0. But we never, set out with any like programmatic initiatives or anything like that. I guess the closest thing we had to that is that Black men being heard in their own voices. Now, that being said, what I set out to do individually, I got tired of being on the outside looking in. Mentioned Feminista Jones a minute ago. I got tired of women like her setting the table of discussion. I got tired. I mean, the Feminista Jones archetype: overly educated, highly educated, white collar professional. Pretty much weighing in on relationship issues, sexual issues, relationship dynamics, etc., etc., etc. They were always getting the dais, and I got tired of that. I got tired of brothers like me being left out. Brothers that are blue collar, brothers that are not vetted by what I would go on to refer to as Black Vagina Vision. So that is to say, Oprah Winfrey, Madame Noir, Clutch, the Essence. I got tired of being left out of the discussion, especially at a time when, going back to Jones again, who's not only is a bitch, but is also a stomped down hypocrite. And what I mean by that is she wants to take digs at me for being short. And that's a form of prejudice. Heightism is a form of prejudice. And I got tired of that. She's a very tall woman, and I have nothing against that. But I find it deeply hypocritical that she's going to go bang on about racism and about sexism and about the misogyny, and then she turns around and be a bigot herself. So, I got tired of all of that sort of thing. I'm mentioning her again since you brought her up, is because in a lot of ways, she's kind of like the composite of a lot of Black women that I refer to them as the loudest voices in the room who talk about these issues. Like I said, the Oprah Winfrey crowd, the Essence crowd, the Madame Noir crowd. I got tired of them, always driving and setting the table of discussion and debate for the past 40 years. And I decided to do something about it. I had just been retired after 22 years as a blue-collar skilled tradesman. And I embarked on a new life in social media as a talk radio show host and podcaster and, commentator and gadfly and blogger and writer, and then eventually author and dating coach for the non-select guy. And the whole point is to, get a seat at the table and foster a real conversation between Black men and Black women. Going back to Jones for a second, that's another thing I found about her. She doesn't want a real conversation. What she wants are sycophants. What she wants are yes men, literally. She doesn't want to be challenged. She doesn't want to be made to explain herself and then offer evidence in real time that backs her up. And I refuse to do that. We're going to have a real conversation where you have to have somebody you have to contend with. And much to her chagrin, here I am 6 years later, like you said, with a #1 best-selling book. And as a matter of fact, I'm hard at it right now, underway, writing my second book. And this time it's the lady's turn. And we'll see if I can, pull a rabbit out of my hat again.
Okay. So, wow. Because a lot comes to my mind when you bring that up. Like, because I first of all, I do want to acknowledge the fact that yourself and other men have created a space where Black male voices can once again be heard. Because you are right. We were removed right from the mainstream discussion, and in terms of discussion, especially about Black men or anything pertaining to Black men, were set from those other than Black men, right? In fact, on Twitter, I think Twitter, even prior to YouTube, started that process, at least because Twitter is very close to the mainstream in terms of it drives the mainstream discussion. Yeah. So that started the process of once again giving Black men a voice. And I can't tell you, just over the past 4 years of being very active on Twitter. At this point, I'm shadow banned. I don't know how long I've been shadow banned, but how many men come into my DMs to thank me for pushing back because they've been silenced. Like they're afraid to speak publicly out of fear of retribution, out of fear of being economically sanctioned, meaning losing their employment or having their businesses boycotted or even worse, canceled for their viewpoint. So I want to commend you for, putting yourself on the line and putting your views out there, good, bad, or indifferent, to challenge the status quo and make Black men once again feel comfortable speaking freely. So I want to give you your flowers. I don't agree with everything that's being spoken in the manosphere, but agreement is not necessary for respect.
Well, let me ask you a question. First of all, thank you for that. Second, I want to ask you a question. The third, I want to go back to Jones and make a clarifying statement, because I did call her a bitch, and okay. I want to clarify what I mean by that. So when people hear this, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But first, just give me one example of something that you disagree with the Black Manosphere with, and is it from one of the big players, in the Black Manosphere? That is to say, content creators and influencers and voices, or is this just a more general sentiment among the rank and file?
So all of the above. So certainly the big players, and then I think it also trickles down into the rank and file. So my critique is that the Manosphere, the prevailing voice within the Black Manosphere is that of highly conservative. Although yourself, maybe O'Shea, and maybe even Kevin probably go against this, but antagonistic towards the Black community, right? The community.
Well, that was started by me, the community.
Okay, well, I didn't know you started, but that antagonism has kind of like carried forward. So even any discussions that want to speak about what's happening in the Black community from a Black perspective or from an Afrocentric perspective is like, oh, here y'all go again with this pro-Black stuff. But even a lot of the what's the term I'm looking for here? The prescriptions that I hear coming from the Manosphere, a lot of them come from what I refer to as a WIMP perspective. And what I mean by that is, WIMP, yeah, it's just an acronym. It means white identified male perspective. It's just another way of saying another way of saying they're very Eurocentric. They're
very white.
Yes, and
all right. So let's slow down here. Okay, so exactly who is saying, or exactly, because I'm trying to nail down exactly what statements were made that gave you the impression that the Black Manosphere writ large is antagonistic to the Black community.
No, I didn't say. I said the prevailing voice within the Manosphere is very politically conservative, right? Because if you look at how the gathering of men, who were those men? What was the profile of that men who initially came to the Manosphere, right? And these were in many ways the discontents. And let me explain.
I know exactly what you mean, because I was discontented.
Okay. So
I helped to start the Black Manosphere in part because I was so discontented with the way that Black men like myself were being treated. That's what I explained with Jones and other Black women like her having the dais for so long and pretty much being niggardly with it, if you will, being selfish with it, being greedy with it, and not allowing other voices and perspectives to be heard. I was very disgruntled and discontented.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not saying that in a negative way when I say discontented. You know what I mean?
No, I didn't take it. I took it descriptively, not pejoratively.
Got you. I appreciate that. So, my thing, and I don't want to, because I'm interviewing you today. I'll definitely, I'm open to coming onto your platform for an interview. In fact, I did a full analysis on this. I did a live stream. It was called Semen-Filled Red Pills and the Romanization of Black Male Values. Right,
I've heard it, but to tell you the truth, I haven't sat down and like.
I'll send it to you, and then I did a series in October called "The Souls of Black Folk." So a play on W.E.B. Du Bois' Souls, but it was souls as in like Thomas Sowell. Right. So all of my arguments are put forth there. So anybody who wants to critique or examine them, my arguments are there. They're public. Right. But you made me lose my train of thought.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, I know what I want to do here. I want to share my screen just really quickly because you put out a post this morning, and I found this post to be really interesting. So I'm going to read it, and then I just want to ask, what inspired you to write this? So you wrote, "The rise and success of the Black Manosphere has seen with it an increasing presence of women being drawn to it on both sides of the microphone. This has been a cause for alarm among the party faithful, who argue that the Black Manosphere's biggest and most influential voices have essentially simped out, and as a result, the Black Manosphere has lost its way from its supposedly original mission of helping, empowering Black men, independent of any female considerations. But on the other side, the argument has been made that from its very inception, the Black Manosphere was about, at least in part, fostering an actual conversation between rank and file Black women that have that would serve as a much needed and long overdue departure from the contrived non-versations that Black Vagina Vision media had been doing for decades. And the increasing presence of women in and around the Black Manosphere in the year since its inception is only proof that its true purpose has borne fruit. With 2021 winding down and 2022 promising the continued mainstreaming of the Black Manosphere, today's poll questions becomes quite prescient. Is the presence of women in the Black Manosphere a good thing? Weigh in, have your say, and let me know what you think in the comments. Brother Obsidian, what made you want to write that this morning?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I found that was very interesting about the conversation, I don't know if you're aware of this. Hill Harper did a book like back 12, 13 years ago called The Conversation, right? I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good book. Mm-hmm. But I understand what his premise of his book and what he was hoping to achieve. But with all due respect to Hill, I have a different, I guess, a more subversive way of looking at things. I consider what has been going on between Black men and Black women prior to the rise of the Black Manosphere as a non-versation for reasons that I just spoke to a few minutes ago. So there's this idea in the Black Manosphere among the party faithful, if you will, that the Black Manosphere is being overrun by Black women, that Black women are infiltrating the space, that Black women are kind of subverting what the purpose of the Black Manosphere is really all about, or should be all about, or could be all about, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of hand-wringing going on about that. And so I decided to, make a poll and find out exactly what my listeners, I got close to 20,000 subscribers at present, what do they think and feel about it? I think that's a fairly, close to 20,000 is a fairly good sample size. So I decided to poll them. And as you just you read out, how I phrased the question and so forth. And within like an hour, 2 hours, I got like over 200 votes. So, and I'm going to go check it now and see where we are now. But it's a lot of guys have a lot to say about it. And that's the reason why we're trending upwards of 500 votes now.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's very a lot of, and by the way, it's almost evenly split. Yes, 27%, no, 30%. So it's close. I usually keep these these polls so people can vote, just like you do when you go out and vote in elections. I keep them open all day, and then I tabulate the results at the end of the day, and then I post them the next day. So I decided to find out what the brothers thought. That's the other thing that, in keeping with the reason why Obsidian got involved with the Black Manosphere, or what will become the Black Manosphere, why I co-founded it, is because Black men were never asked. Like, nobody asked me, for example, and I'm pretty sure nobody asked you, Omar Wali, what do you think about Black women's weaves? I mean, do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think about, thus and so? I'm pretty sure nobody asked you. I'm not talking about general political questions. I'm talking about within the Black community itself, our relationship to and with Black women, and so on, and other community issues. I consider that a community issue, and other community issues. I'm pretty sure nobody said, well, Omar Wali, we're taking a survey and we want to know what you think.
So let me ask you this question.
Am I right about that?
Oh, I've never been asked, but you bringing that up raises a point. So would the tip of the spear for the Black Manosphere be the relationship between Black men and Black women?
Absolutely. Not only are we the tip of the spear, that is true, but now we're the tail that wags the dog insofar as, driving the conversation. You mentioned Kevin Samuels, my good friend and brother. And we're now driving the conversation now, which is a good thing. Okay. Now we're getting to be able to, put our side on the table and be heard to a much wider, to tell you the truth, global audience. And we're able to put on the table questions that the lovely ladies need to answer now.
Wait right there, because you talked about during the 40-year period of silence, I feel like that just made me think of something. I feel like in the scriptures, there's a period of time in the scriptures where I guess the creator had not spoken to the children of Israel, and they referred to that as like a period of silence. When I said that, it made me think of that. But during this 40-year period of silence, where, as you referred to, Black Vagina Media, I think that's the term.
Black Vagina Vision Media, yeah.
Black Vagina Vision Media.
I got the phrase from Tom. I don't know if you're familiar with Tom Likas, but I got the phrase from Tom Likas. Tom Likas used to talk, and you can look it up on YouTube. He has what's known as what he calls Vagina Vision, right?
Okay.
So that's to say the daytime talk shows that were largely, not solely, but largely hosted by women for women. He does include Dr. Phil in that, and they basically all pretty much, talk about how much trash men are and so on and so forth. And he wanted to I just took that idea and just put black in media. Bookended that term Vagina Vision with black on one side and media on the other, and to me that is meant to say Essence, Ebony, Madame Noir, Oprah Winfrey Network, and so on. Okay,
so I want you to wrestle with this question for me, right? Because I was on when our sister I Am Courtney Michelle, when she did her maiden live stream. You were there as a special guest. Yeah. I came on afterwards, and the conversation came up about the growing number of black female content creators entering the space.
Yeah.
And this is what I want you to wrestle with. Within this space, there are a great deal of male discontents, as you refer to them as extreme desert dick, right?
Right.
Is there a concern that with the rapid growth of black women content creators entering the space, that they will soon become the leading or largest platforms in the space, that now once again have the largest voice within the Black Manosphere? Because we are men, we are driven by procreation. So, I mean, having someone on screen with, the breast out and looking very welcomely is somewhat of an advantage that you or I will not have, right, as men in the space.
Right.
So are you concerned that, let's say in another 2 to 3 years, it'll be like Kevin Samuels will be the largest, and then the next 4 biggest content creators in the manosphere will be black female content creators, and men will have to wait in line to get onto their panels to have their voice heard? Is that a concern at all?
No. And the reason why is because, the main reason see, my thinking is this. That will only be if black men want it to be. So that's the only thing. It will be that if black men want it to be that. I don't think that way, because maybe it says something about me, but I just don't think that.
But brother, isn't this a contradiction though? You and I'm not saying this to be argumentative. I'm just for the sake of spurring the conversation.
Right.
You talked about the Brittany Renner situation. Yeah. And you said black men are lying. You like the Brittany Renners, right? You like look at her engagement, like black men, like so then to say that it'll only be that if black men want it to be, then that's basically saying that then that's what it's going to be, because clearly that's black men like seeing that. And I think that black women understand that, and they can I'm not saying that every woman who comes here is coming to take advantage of that notion, but clearly
if they're smart, they will.
So what are you saying here? Because I don't want you to get yourself in trouble.
No, look, the thing that a lot of brothers in this space don't want to accept is that this is a business. Social media is a business, and a very big one. And the question becomes, do black men want to harness that, or do they want to cede that to black women?
So black men are just basically, if black men are not smart consumers, they will essentially create the demand for the space to be overrun by black female content creators.
Not only consumers, but also backers, investors, creators. Let
me pause there. Hold on, because you're saying what O'Shea said. I want to reiterate what's being said here to the men in the Black Manosphere. Let me fix my Carhartt real quick. We going old school Philly with this. But listen, he's saying if you as black men in the Black Manosphere, not just what you consume, but what are you supporting? What black male content creator channels are you a member of? Are you giving super chats to? Are you sending cash apps? Are you supporting the black men, or are you simping out and giving all of your cash apps and making it rain on, because if that is the case, then yes, you are creating a situation where there's going to be a huge demand for a lot more Black female content creators to come into space and cake up.
Right. And not only that, and I have no problem with the ladies doing that. It's not their fault. But what I will say is what chaps my hide is those same guys who cake up these ladies, these lovely ladies, then want to turn around and bemoan the fact that we're letting the Black Manosphere is being overrun and it's being this and being infiltrated and all of this. It's the double speak of the guys who are making the big stink out of all this. They're hypocrites. If you really believe that, then you would support the brothers who have been laboring in the vineyard for years, often for nothing, often for little or nothing, often just going through all kind of Hades and back. You would back them. And one thing that I love about Kevin and I love about these lovely ladies, they've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that Black men ain't broke. so we could dispense with that excuse.
Okay.
It just comes down to what Black men, what they value. And I mean, I'm not knocking anybody if you value, the Brittany Renners of the world, if you will. That's not to say that the Danica Maries and Courtney Michelle's are akin to Brittany Renner, but I am kind of saying that because look, these are good-looking women, and they should use what God gave them to get an inherent edge and advantage in a very competitive market. And if Black men support that, then they need to shut the F up and support that and stop with this nonsense that you and me and O'Shea and Kevin should be de facto social workers trying to uplift a recalcitrant demographic for the free.
Let me tell y'all something. Obsidian might play dumb and lean on the entertainment, but a wise man, right? They say you play the fool to catch a fool. Obsidian, you're never gonna catch me sleeping. You keep using all these SAT words. I know that you are a well-read man, so I have some questions for you. You're smart enough to be dangerous. Let me stop playing. So you brought up our friend I Am Courtney Michelle.
Right.
About a month or so ago, UK content creator Jessica X did a video called "Amira Exposed Courtney Michelle is Just Another Modern Woman."
Right.
You were on this panel. Courtney came up to defend herself, and I believe Jessica X actually bowed out from the position she had taken. But you said something on this panel that I wanted to engage with you on, and I'm going to play it for you right here.
Okay.
Give me 1 second, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
May I make an observation? Now, see how we all got just dragged off course again? Now we're talking about racism, colorism, darkism, colonialism. What does it have to do between Black men and Black women not getting along, man? In the 21st century? Seriously. What does that got to do with it?
It doesn't.
See, this is what I'm talking about. All of these diversions. And it's constant with us. We will find diversions to keep from having to deal with that. And that's the reason why I say that the single biggest problem facing Black America in the 21st century ain't racism, but the sobering reality that Black male and Black female can't get along.
Let me stop that right there. Did you hear that, Brother Obsidian?
Yes, I did.
So this is where I have to give you some pushback. And, you're a guest on my platform, so my pushback is always going to be respectful, right? And we're both men, right? So everything is going to be done in brotherly love. Yeah. But I'm just curious as to why you would say that racism doesn't play an impact in Black male and female relations when, from an institutional perspective, much of the reason why our communities are in the state that they're in and our family is in the state that it is in is due to the system of racism, white supremacy, desiring the removal of our population from this nation, and therefore developing institutions and policies to tear us apart and pit us against each other for the limited resources that are remaining. So do you agree? So you agree with that? You agree that this nation is doing that to us?
Absolutely not.
Oh, let me hear your perspective.
Well, I mean, it's very simple, man. Where are the colored only signs anymore? Where are the demand, at the point of a gun that we have to ride the back of the bus? Where are the night riders burning crosses? Where are the black men going home from work getting shot in the back like Medgar Evers? Where are the black men being strung up from trees? The thing that a lot of black people don't want to admit, and why I made the statement, the very provocative statement, that the single biggest problem facing us today is not racism, but the sobering reality that black male and black female don't get along, is because we don't want to admit that all the various movements, including the civil rights movement of the 60s and 70s, worked. They weren't perfect. Everybody didn't benefit equally in Black America. Some benefited more than others. But the point is made, they worked. They worked so well, in fact, that black men and black women discovered that they didn't have to be together anymore. They could want to be together. That's fair. But they didn't have to be, because they were no longer dealing with straight up, in your face, overt, de jure, de facto racism as a reality of day-to-day black American life. And so we now have a different set of circumstances that face us in a new century. Shout out to W.E.B. Du Bois, who was correct in his analysis in the previous century in saying that the problem of the Negro was that of the color line. That was correct. But in the new century, we have a new set of problems that are cultural, political, and intellectual leaders have absolutely no clue to deal with, and that is the problem, the shock of freedom.
Let me so I appreciate you for openly sharing your perspective. Of course, I disagree. Our friend Shay Sade had us on her channel to, begin to tease out this particular conversation.
Yeah.
But I would submit that the reason why the treatment plan that we are pursuing in terms of the relationship between black men and black women, right? The reason why that treatment plan isn't working is because we have a faulty diagnosis, right? I think that the racial component and the institutional component very much matters, right? I think we have a situation where we're grabbing the low-hanging fruit, right? The relationship between black men and black women is just a piece of fruit on this particular tree that emanates, right, from deep roots that go deep into the ground of this particular system that's created and maintained to destroy us. And I think that when we don't acknowledge how that is at play, or when we allow them to hit us with the 52 fake out, I'm using Philly terminology now, right? We allow them to hit us with the 52 fake out and say that things are advancing, and because some of the symbols of domination have been removed, that the domination is still not in place. I think that we are kind of like, I don't know, blind leading the blind, walking off a cliff backwards, bent over. Right. So we won't be able to interrogate or have an arbitration of that here, because I don't think we have the time, but I wanted to give you the space to speak to it, and you stood your ground, bro. So shout out to you. Hold on one second. Now, when you were recently on Courtney Michelle's show, you declared a declaration of victory in the gender war. And I was like, wow, that's my first time hearing that. Could you please explain this declaration of victory, and what are the signs of said victory? For me, first and foremost, there is no victory from my perspective in a war of attrition between black men and black women. Either side that wins means both sides loses. That's just my perspective. But from your perspective, you declared a victory. I would like to just hear a bit more about this victory and the terms of said victory.
Yeah, what I meant by that was that we being black men, the Black Manosphere, had won the rhetorical battle. For past 4 decades, black women, and again, I want to make clear, I'm not saying every last single black woman. Who I'm really talking about was the Feminista Jones type black women that we talked about earlier in this interview, who I refer to as the loudest voices in the room. They have been driving the narrative and driving the conversation, driving the discussion, using a certain set of talking points that I have not just me, but others in the Black Manosphere have systematically debunked. And we've so thoroughly debunked them that it has manifested itself in my good friend and brother St. Kevin to such a degree and extent that, you really don't see black women really arguing those points anymore. I mean, you may see them off to one side grumbling to themselves, or you may see them in certain, like, cloisters of Facebook and so forth, but you don't actually see them openly questioning those things anymore on YouTube. You just don't. Name the major players on the black female side who is openly questioning our talking points at this point.
So
I guarantee you'll be hard pressed to do so, because we have so thoroughly debunked them with facts, data, statistics, historical analysis, you name it, to where they sound silly trying to do it now. That's what I mean by saying we won. Now we can open up a space to have a real conversation.
Can I just caution you, my brother? And I'm gonna caution you out of love. Like, I'm big on war. I'm real big on strategy. I'm real big on the art of war.
Yeah.
But I would just caution us, not us, because I'm like I said, I don't have a horse in this particular fight. But don't be hasty to declare victory in this war. And what I mean by that is there's a couple of points that you should consider, right? Yeah. Let's say each decade is a quarter in a basketball game, so you got four quarters. Right. We just got blew out by 8,000 points over these last 4 quarters, and we're 5 minutes into the beginning of quarter 5, and we scored 100 points. So now we're down 8,000 to 100, and we're declaring victory. That's one way to look at it and say that we aren't really winning. But then the second thing is that I would caution you.
What does winning look like to you?
So for me, there is no win in a war of attrition between black men and black women. Like how Jay-Z says, right? Nobody wins when the family feuds. Like it's going to be an L for both of us, right? So, but I can have a more long form conversation about who I see the opponent as, and also how I see black women being used as an instrument of the opponent. Right. So that makes our task of defeating the opponent much more difficult, because we have the additional task of having to deal with our women who are being used as instruments. Right. I said this to Dr. Tia Johnson. OK, let's say I agree with you that black women are colonizing agents. OK, I can agree with that, because that happens in wartime. All women are used as colonizing agents. Right. It's nothing new if you study the history of war. But the problem that we have is, let's assume that black women are infected with the virus of racism, white supremacy. Okay, I'll give you that. Both black men and black women are infected with the virus of racism, white supremacy. The symptoms present themselves differently depending on the body. All right, cool. So the question then becomes, how do we destroy the virus without destroying the host? Right? Because I don't have as you said, the non-versations that were happening, your goal is to get black men and black women on one accord. So I don't think that we do that by destroying the host, right? So,
that's just it. Okay, so let's back up and do this. So
let me make my last point, because that wasn't the point that I was trying to make. I was just answering your question. The final point that I was trying to make was the point of facts and data.
Yeah.
Black feminism and the narratives that it spins is institutionally supported, sanctioned, and subsidized. Narratives or a story has more of a impact on the consciousness of a people than facts and numbers do. Like, I feel like our arguments that have been being made by black men who've been silenced have always been stronger. They've always defeated the narrative. But if the narrative is state sponsored, if the narrative is subsidized and funded by the state, it's going to continue to go. Like, there's certain narratives out here that can't even be challenged. Like, if you challenge certain narratives, and I want to keep my platform because I'm on their stuff, like, you'll lose your platform. And I'm not talking about
I was about to ask you, what narratives can't we challenge?
There are a great deal of narratives, my brother.
Will you email them to me off list, and we'll talk.
I want to say this so the people who watch and those who have ears to hear can hear it. Right? There's
you email me off list, and we'll talk about it off list, so that way you don't get in trouble. But let me say this. So we're talking about Feminista Jones, right? So Feminista Jones.
I'm not talking about her. I don't have nothing to say about her. But go. You can if you would like to.
She would be one of those people that would, because she's a card-carrying feminist, would have the backing of the government and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. Okay. What you're talking about stuff that she said about me 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 5 years ago. So what has she done lately?
First of all, I don't even see her, because the algorithm. Let me tell you why. the algorithm, I'm just talking about on Twitter. The algorithm on Twitter makes it so that the black community is perfectly segregated. Like who we refer to as the blue check Negroes and the people who are pushing all of the nonsense and the woke stuff.
Right.
I don't even see them on Twitter because the algorithm has made it so that we literally don't see each other. And now what they do is like if like for example, I tweeted something the other day because Feminista Jones is at Temple and she's studying in the Department of Africology and she's trying to make a case, an argument for queer Afrocentricity. And you know, I'm a big Afrocentrist. I'm like, the hell no, right? So I tweeted something about it, and what they did on the other side is they just screenshotted my tweet and it made its way on the other side of the fence. So I got people DMing me now about being a homophobe and a whole bunch of nonsense. But what I'm saying is I don't even see them because the algorithm has made it so although we're in the same space, we don't see each other or communicate with each other.
Right. So all of which is to say that I think that the Black Manosphere, and I talked about this recently, as a matter of fact, and I'll be talking about it next week at the Black Manosphere meetup in Atlanta. We meaning black men in the Black Manosphere, we don't realize how strong we are. History records that since you're a student of war, I guess you could say, this. There have been numerous instances, including involving the United States military, the strongest military ever in the history of human beings, where forces that were much less equipped and often in lesser numbers defeated the United States. The most recent example of that being the Taliban in Afghanistan. Before that, it was Vietnam.
But you and I understand the facts of that, but the United States still controls the narrative. So to the uninitiated and unlettered, they're just going to go with whatever narrative the U.S. tells them about that, and the U.S. is going to spin it into a victory.
Well, that's just it. In the Black Manosphere, it's my job. I see it as my job to continue to remind the brothers that we have no idea how powerful we really are. We took on, and you are right to point out that a lot of black women, in this case, black feminists, have, pretty much everything, all the material they need, all the resources, finances, equipment, all of it. And we pretty much silenced them inside of Black Manosphere 2.0 has been around only 6 years. Kevin Samuels has been doing this in his current iteration for less than 2 years. And look at what we've done. So all of that to say, going back to your other point about the war of attrition and nobody winning, here's something I've always asked the pro-blacks. I've been asking them this for years. I'll ask you, since you are a pro-black.
I don't use the term pro-black.
Right. Well, we all know what pro-black means.
I don't. I literally don't. It means something different.
What it means is those who are of an Afrocentric bent, those who are of the view that that we need to care about black issues in the black community, foster more black cohesion, foster more black education, foster more black business, foster more black civic and political engagement, and so on, to foster black interests.
Okay. I am all those things. I'm all those things. Yep.
So with that being said, my question, and I've been asking this question to pro-blacks for years now, never got a straight answer. So I want to ask you now.
Go ahead.
How do you propose, if we all agree that we're up against a virulently pernicious force known as racism, white supremacy? If we all agree that's true, then my question becomes this: how do you propose to contend with this pernicious racism, white supremacy without strong black families?
Oh, that's the solution, brother. Like, the family is the first unit of war. But the point that you made, though, is a strong black family. Can you be a black family without black values?
I don't.
The families that we are erecting, or that were attempted to be erected, were families based upon Eurocentric values and not our own. Right? Culture matters. There's a good documentary right now on Netflix. It's called Gathering. It's about the indigenous communities here in the U.S. who are trying to reclaim their culture and reclaim their food, because that was one of their culture and their food was the first thing the U.S. and war sought to take from them in order to, how they say, destroy the Indian, keep the body. Right. So we're the same thing. Destroy the African, keep the body. So that's why you got us saying, oh, we're Americans, we're this, we're that, we're that, because we're very confused because we've undergone this same, what Dr. Bobby Wright refers to as menticidal process. Right. So I think that, we agree there. So I'm not sure if me telling you that I agree is answering your question.
It is answering my question.
Family is the first unit of war.
So what I'm saying is, if you agree with the idea that black women are either witting or unwitting pawns of the white man, then it's necessary to win out over the black woman insofar as her being a pawn unwittingly or otherwise of the white man. So then we can then address the white man. See,
it's not necessary to win out over because this is an institutional war. Right, the way that white supremacy is maintained, the attack is maintained through institutions and policies. So the question becomes, what institutions and policies do we have on our side that can compete? What are the alternatives? And here's what I have to say. The reason why when I came into this space, I said we needed a definition or a framework around manhood that points us toward liberation and sovereignty. And that's what I laid out. I said that manhood is a system of order, protection, and direction that's expressed through institutions that are capable of meeting the vital needs of a people.
So what institutions are you talking about?
The institutions that are capable of meeting the vital needs of the people are the institutions that give you housing, food, clothing, shelter.
We don't give you anything. You earn those things. No.
Wait. All those institutions are currently present in this society. However, they are institutions that have been erected by white men, the system of policing, the system of government. Our bodies were used as the battering ram to progress America forward, but we were used as an instrument. We've always been seen as property. But what we like to do is say, hey, I'm proud that I was the battering ram that forged this instrument in the furnace. Right. So the point that I'm making is.
So you're suggesting we make our own police force?
I'm suggesting we have all of our own institutions, and I'm suggesting that we absolutely move towards delinking ourselves, our culture, and our families from a society that's undergoing a control.
We should renounce our American citizenship.
We've never had American citizenship.
Okay, so we should renounce it. So we should renounce it.
Hold on one second. Because it'll turn into a debate. This is an interview.
No, I'm just asking you a question.
Hold on one second. Let me answer your question.
Yeah.
We reside here in America, but citizenship for African Americans has always been aspirational, something that we have aspired to and fought for, something we've never fully attained, which is why we're still fighting now, which is why there's an ADOS movement today that says, hey, unless we get reparations, then we'll never have access.
So our citizenship is contingent on reparations.
Our citizenship is contingent on whiteness, because that's what it is in a white nationalist society.
So even if we did get reparations, it still wouldn't be enough.
No. People who think that are just fooling themselves, right?
Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly
that's the argument. The argument that
I'm
folks
asking you what would it take for us to be citizens?
I think a level of insanity and delusion.
Okay, so you're saying, I just want to make sure I understand you here.
Yes, sir.
You're saying we can never be citizens in this land.
Absolutely not as black people.
Okay, now, so why are we still here? Okay, why are we still here?
What do you mean?
Why don't we leave?
I'm not of the mind. So let me make this thing very, very clear to you. Yes, there is a prevailing macro framework that governs the globe presently. And depending on your level of analysis or red pill or black pill, you may have a different interpretation of what that framework is. But I've never been of the mind that all black people from across the globe need to pack up from where they are and move back to Africa. My mindset as a Pan-African has always been think globally, act locally, regardless of what this national framework is that we are presently subjugated by, the attachment that we have is to the land and to each other, right? That's
yeah, but the land is owned by white guys.
What was that?
But the land, but you just got finished saying earlier, these institutions are owned by white people. They were created by white people, owned by white people, ran by white people, for the express purpose of keeping us down and out. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you do. And the first statement that you made was that the land is owned by white guys, right? So if you acknowledge that as a black man, and the land is your means of survival, food, clothing, shelter, safety. Right? Without access to that, you have no access to survival on this planet. So you're telling me that you have to go through another group of men to have access to survival.
Well, I'd rather go to black men than the white men if I'm going to buy into your argument.
Let's stop there. You already said that they own it. And wait. They've given us the terms by which we can access the resources that they own. They said you can sell your labor into the labor market and you can earn a living and then you can come and pay them and get access. You said, okay, now we're at a point in their so-called fourth industrial revolution. There's nowhere for us as black men to sell our labor, right? So how do we now gain access to those resources we need to survive?
Well, you can go to Africa and do it.
They own that too, brother.
Nigeria is owned by white people.
Yes, Nigeria is a colony. I did a whole lecture called Nigerianism on Trial. Like it's a colony. It's yo, are you serious?
Nigeria won its independence from Great Britain.
Bro, do you know what political theater looks like?
Well,
that political theater, that was an orchestrated independence. You educate the class.
Why would they need to orchestrate it? Why couldn't they just say, I don't want to know? You want to continue to be
it has to move from direct control to indirect control.
Why? If white people control and own everything, why?
What do you mean?
If white people control and own everything of any value on planet Earth, why the need for a kabuki dance?
Because humans have a natural need to resist, especially when they understand that there's force being applied to them.
But they got nukes.
What? And everything is connected, and we share the planet. Like so, brother. Listen, I don't have an answer for everything that you say, but I'm supposed to be interviewing you.
But the United States dropped nukes on Japan and made them submit twice.
Okay, but now everybody has nukes.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if the darkies get out of line, we the white British just drop a nuke on them.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate the passion, but maybe this is not the But listen, let me say this to you, brother.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie? I think it's either Casino or Goodfellas.
Yeah, I've seen both.
There's this part during the movie where there's a mob guy who's about to turn state's witness, right? And what the mafiosos do is when the guy gets on the stand to testify, they bring in his sick brother into the courtroom, so his sick brother can see him about to testify.
Right.
And the look on his brother's face was so disgusted that his brother was on the stand that was enough for the brother to say, you know what? I recant my statement. I ain't seen nothing. Right. I bring this up for a reason.
Yeah.
When we had our last exchange on Shay Charday about some of these things.
Yeah.
As soon as we got off of that, I got a phone call. I got text messages from folks who knew you, who knew me. And one of the messages that I got was like, man, they were so disheartened to hear like some of the points that you were arguing, because they were like, yo, that's Brother Bay. Like, how did he get to here from where he was? So I guess that's the question that I have for you, right? Because you're somebody who's enlightened and awakened and have journeyed. You have a sense of knowledge of self and all these things. Like, so how do you get to making the arguments that you're presently making based upon the knowledge that you've been given in the past?
What I would say is, though, those people don't know me. They think they do, but they never asked me, well, Obsidian, what is your views about racism? What are your views about the community? What are your views about the family? What are your views about how to address human problems as they manifest in the 21st century in Black America? They never asked me those questions. They just made assumptions. And that's the reason why they took the view that they did and they expressed to you. Oh my God, I didn't know he thought that. Well, I guess not, because you never asked. This goes back to my central point about why I helped to create the Black Manosphere that we're talking about today, because nobody asked me what I thought about any of this stuff. And I strongly suspect nobody asks a lot of black men what they think about things. And then when we go out and speak our own minds, everybody's, clutching their pearls and flopping all over the fainting couch. Well, I guess so when you don't ask them.
Fair enough. Brother Obsidian, I think next week is the Black Manosphere meetup. You care to share anything about that? And then anything you want to share at this point, my brother? We're a little bit over hours, so I want to let you. The platform is yours. It's been great speaking with you, and I'm looking forward to engaging again,
man. Yeah. The Black Manosphere meetup is the very first officially sanctioned Black Manosphere event that's happening in real time, December 3rd and 4th in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Westin Buckhead Hotel in Buckhead, Atlanta. And it's going to be all about building the black man from the ground up. That's the theme. We're going to be building black men from the ground up. We got a lot of IT guys there, and we're going to be preparing men for careers in the 21st century that STEM. Less than 10% of all black college grads right now possess a degree in the STEM fields. Less than 10%. How can we be competitive or even survive in a 21st century world with a situation like that? We're going to address that directly head on at the Black Manosphere meetup. We already got a second Black Manosphere meetup back in Atlanta, again set up as we speak, because the outpouring of support for this one was so strong. We're going to be having a lot of things going on. I'm going to be the keynote speaker there talking about all these things. So I'm very excited about it. And it's the very first of many real life events and showing yet again what black men can do when we put our minds to it.
One last question for you. I work with a lot of young men, teenagers, early 20s. I work with older men in their 30s and their 40s to try to help them develop. If I were to tell those men that they should come over and start spending time listening to what's happening in the Manosphere and get plugged into the Manosphere, you as one of the co-founders of Manosphere, Black Manosphere 2.0, what would you say are the direct benefits they would gain from coming and being a part of this space?
Being able to hear black men in their own voices, not contrived by the establishment, not being kowtowed by the Black Borg female hive mind, not being bought and paid for by the Black Vagina Vision media or the mainstream media, read white, speaking their own voices on issues that matter to black men. First and foremost, our relationship or the lack thereof in relation to black women. There are other things that we speak about. I just talked about the Black Manosphere meetup. You notice I didn't say anything about black women in there. You're going to hear things that you don't hear in the whiter society. You're going to hear things that you don't hear in the black media, much of which is tilted toward caters to black women. And so I think just being able to hear black men speaking their own voices, and I'm not saying it's all pretty, not saying it's all positive, boys will be boys. Nevertheless, it's a refreshing thing to hear. And like I said, with regard to the Black Manosphere meetup, it ain't just all talk. There's going to be a lot of action too.
All right, Brother Obsidian. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, brother. I appreciate having you.
Thank you so much, man.
On the show.
Hey, listen, before you go, man, I noticed on your channel that you guys have a panel discussion over there about twerking and stuff. You got to bring me on those panels, man.
You want to come on the next one?
Yeah.
I got you. Say no more. You're on the next one.
You also got women over there. I'm there anytime they got some lovely ladies there. I'm there.
The next one we're recording this Tuesday at 6:30. Would I work for your schedule?
Now I'm going to be out of town Wednesday through Sunday. So Tuesday, what time Tuesday?
I think we're going to try. My goal is 6:30. I'm confirming the last two panelists now.
6:30. All right. So I should be able to jump in before I do my last show, before I leave out Wednesday morning, the 1st.
Are you comfortable with getting on for the panel? Because those panels, you have to have a camera on. Are you comfortable with that?
I don't have a camera yet.
All right. Well, okay. I know you're working on your production then.
Yeah.
When you get your camera up, because this is produced, it's pre-recorded, is edited, and like everybody that has to be on camera for those.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, we'll set all that up. In 2022, I'll have all that.
I welcome. The whole thing is going off topic. Those panels. It's about the Black community, the Black family coming together to have discussions. So I invite people from all across social media to come, and it's like, regardless of your perspective, bring your opinion, bring your humor, bring your argument, but bring your respect for different perspectives and push the culture forward through conversation. That's the whole goal. That's the whole goal of those panels.
Looking forward to it.
All right, my brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Right, man. All right, peace.
All right, that was Brother Obsidian. Just showed y'all some brotherly love. Another brother from the great city of Philadelphia. You ain't got to agree with everybody. As long as when men listen, I go to a Black barbershop. I can't tell y'all some of the conversations that I have with Black men in the barbershop. I mean, sometimes like I'm the only non-coon identified Black person in the barbershop. I'm not calling my brother a coon, but I'm just saying, like, I'm used to talking to Black men across different perspectives. As long as you are somebody who at least profess that you want the best for the Black community, I don't care what your perspective is. I'm willing to have the conversation because, still sharpen still, right? So I appreciate y'all stopping by for this episode of Going Off Topic. Continue to tune in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.
Going off topic.
Off topic.
You really off topic right now. Yo, you way off topic. How is it that everybody's over here and you way over there off topic?